Welcome to Open Table, United Church of Christ. We are an open and affirming congregation here in Pottstown, Pennsylvania, doing our best to imagine the church for this day, for this age, with these people in this place. All of it being very specific and very messy and beautiful. And it is wonderful to be with all of you today. Thank you to everyone who made last week happen while we were traveling out to Ohio. That beautiful embodied worship service. Every time we do something like that, when we're not here, it always makes me jealous that I'm not here. But then it wouldn't have happened in the same way if we were here. So thank you, thank you, thank you. If we seem a little bit off, some of you I've already talked to, is that we are right after the service going to head back to Ohio. Got word late last night that Nicole's father had a cardiac event that had a long history of cardiac issues. It's currently in the being transferred up to the VA in Cleveland. And so we are going to pick up our boys early and maybe be there longer depending on how things unfold. Everything is still kind of very much in the we don't know, we're in a holding pattern sort of phase. So we'll be in touch in terms of what happens this week. If we're back in time for our Wednesday night group, then we'll let you know. If we're not, we'll let you know. So keep an eye out on your email to the newsletter to know what is happening this week. It is our practice as we gather together every week to take Holy Communion. Our elements are gluten-free, plant-based, and non-alcoholic to make this table as open as possible. There's a little bit of feedback now. If you have not already grabbed a name tag, I invite you to do so that we know how to refer to you. For those of us who are bad with names, this is a great grace that you are giving to us. This Saturday is our annual Pottstown Pride Fest, for which Open Table is one of the sponsors and founders of. There's flyers over there on the table still. I would invite you, thank you, Beth, to grab some and hand them out in the places where you are. The cafes that you frequent and the post office, and I don't know, drop them in the health food aisle at Giant, wherever it is that people are that you think would need to know about this wonderful event. You can also go to the website to sign up to become a volunteer. We do need volunteers so that the same 4 people aren't working the entire event and we get the time to enjoy it as well. And because that's happening on Saturday, and those of us who are a part of it are going to be so worn out, it has also been our tradition to not hold a typical service on that Sunday after Pride. We hold a brunch church in which you bring something to share, some food or drink, or just yourself. That's fine too. And we'll gather together around tables, we'll share stories, we'll share our hearts, we'll share our joys. I may or may not have a story of a saint that I'm saving for the Sunday after Pride. So I can't not share stories of dead Christians. It's in my nature, I'm sorry. So yes, are there any other announcements? Anything that I'm forgetting? Candy?
There's a lot of people within the group that are into roller skating and rollerblading. So if you want to add something that you don't see on So like if you're a gardening person, we'll only text you if it's a gardening event. Or a person within that group will say, reach out and say, hey, this group of people has plants to swap. We're not going to send it to you if you want a rollerblade. We're not going to tell you about plant swaps. Okay? So, so that you know. But do tell me what you would prefer in terms of contact so I can add that to the spreadsheet and try to get that ready. Okay?
Is it kind of like, are you, like, if we're going rollerblading,
Yeah.
you would text and say, like, hey, let us know.
Yeah, here's the group of people that like to rollerblade. Does anybody want to go along? It's that kind of thing. It's very informal. So,
Thank you for putting all that together, Candy. Any other announcements for the good of the group? Luke.
We are away next week, so extra help is needed for setup and cleanup. Next two Sundays. Yes. So I'll be coming around and make sure. I'll probably come and talk to you after Sunday. Like, if you want to come talk to me, so I know if you're available for setup before cleanup, please let me know.
Thank you. All right. Well, then, would you join me in a spirit of prayer? Lord, be with us this morning. Expand our awareness of your presence, that we might know that you are with us. In the deepest parts of our hearts and souls, may we know that your presence abides constantly. Give us your comfort, your peace, and your joy this morning. Amen. Would you mind skipping all of the slides ahead towards the second to last slide? I want to introduce you at the beginning to our saint of the day. We've been going through a series this summer we're calling Summer with the Saints, in which we are spending every Sunday with a we use the word saint lightly because some of them are officially canonized by the church and some of them are not. This is Teresa of Ávila, who is very much officially canonized by the church, who was canonized immediately after her death, who at the time of her life and death was seen as one of the most influential, brilliant, gifted, and called human beings on the planet. Teresa is the patron saint of migraines. Anybody here have headaches? Teresa's your girl. Patron saint of all kinds of things. She is one of my favorite writers. She is smart and witty and sarcastic and funny and insightful and emotional and almost erotic with her language, the way she talks about her spirituality. She is incredibly unique. She was somebody that people tried to put in a category, in a box, and every time she broke free from that with wit and wonder. And we talked about her a little bit at our soup group this week, and so we wanted to talk a lot more about her today. And we're going to talk a bit about her most well-known book, a book called The Interior Castle, in which she imagines the human soul as a series of 7 chambers of a castle made out of glass or crystal or diamond, one that has see-through walls where the presence of Christ dwells in the middle, whose light shines from the middle of your very soul. And the process of maturing spiritually is going deeper towards the inward part of your soul, towards going inward towards truth, towards where God dwells, not trying to escape all of this body and all of this person and go up to heaven, but to go inward. And so as a way of sort of working that out, we brought a puzzle, and it's over there on the table where Teresa's portrait is as well. And we'll go into some detail later about the sort of chambers of this castle, but it begins around the outside. And so like anyone who's ever done a puzzle knows, you always start with the outside. And then you work from the outside, finding pieces to work closer and closer and closer towards the middle. And I'd invite you to do that if you are so inclined, and if this is the sort of thing that helps you to keep your hands occupied while your mind and heart is searching, to start from the outside and work your way towards the center at any point today where you would like. And if you'd like to do that while we sing, or if you'd like to stay seated, or if you'd like to stand up and walk around or pace or clap your hands, or however it is that you best express the desires of your heart and of your soul, we invite you to do that as you are comfortable.
Joyful, joyful, we adore you, God of glory, Lord of love. Hearts unfold like flowers before you, opening to the sun above. Melt the clouds of sin and sadness, drive the dark of dust away. Giver of immortal gladness, fill us with the light of day. All your works with joy surround you, earth and heaven reflect your ray. Stars and angels sing around you, center of unbroken praise. Field and forest, vale and mountain, flowery meadow, flashing sea, singing bird and flowing fountain, praising you eternally. Always giving and forgiving, ever blessing, ever blessed, wellspring of the joy of living, ocean's depth of happy rest, loving mother, between the stars could not contain your glory. Come break the cages we have tried to place you in. You are more. You are more. So much greater than these words we've draped you with. You are more. You are more than this. You are more. You have always been. God of everyone, of all the earth, not only me, King of every truth, not only those I choose to speak, Alpha and Omega, your letter serves to spell your name, distant as the stars, and closer than the words I pray. Come break the cages we have tried to place you in. You are more. You are more. So much greater than these words we draped you with. You are more. You are more than this. You are more. You have always been. Every knee will bow, and every tongue will speak of love. Every knee will bow, and every tongue will speak of love. We will meet your eyes, and every voice will speak your name. We will see your face, and all our words will fade away. Come break the cages we have tried to place you in. You are more. You are more. So much greater than these words we draped you with. You are more. You are more than this. You are more. You have always been.
So usually with the songs that we sing on Sunday mornings, we try our best to sing songs that are directed towards God, that use language of you instead of third person, because we want to take it as an opportunity to have direct communication with God. We rarely sing songs that are about something else, something different, something other. This is a new song we haven't done before, and I want to invite you, as we sing it, to sing it almost as a song to yourself, a song to your deepest, most self, a song sung from the thinking part of your brain that gives yourself permission, but to sing this towards your soul, towards the deepest part of you that doesn't always get expression and sometimes needs an advocate.
You are not what you have done, or what has been done to you. You are something like the rising sun. Can't you see? You are new. You might have your father's name, bear the shame he left behind, but there's new life flowing through your veins. Leave some room to be surprised. 'Cause you are new every morning. You are new every morning. Each day a resurrection, waiting to break through. You are new. You could try just for a start. Put the judge back on the shelf. All the loving kindness in your heart, have a little for yourself. You are new every morning. You are new every morning. Each day a resurrection, waiting to break through. You think hope is lost, but it's just underground. The flame might be an ember, but the fire won't go out. All the evidence is pointing to the truth. That daily resurrection is still happening to you. You are new every morning. 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 Each day a resurrection, waiting to break through. You are new. You are new. You are new. You are new.
Lord, great comforter, help us to know in the depths of our souls that we are made new, that your mercies are given anew every morning. May we have grace for ourselves to the measure that you have grace for us, or even to the measure that we have for others. Lord, bring us comfort and love on this day. Amen.
Today's scripture reading comes from Ephesians chapter 3, verses 16 through 19. I pray that, according to the riches of his glory, he may grant that you may be strengthened in your inner being with power through his Spirit, and that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith, as you are being rooted and grounded in love. I pray that you may have the power to comprehend with all the saints what is the breadth and the length and the height and the depth, and know that the love of Christ that surpasses knowledge, so that you may be filled with all the fullness of God.
The year is 1531, and a 16-year-old Spanish girl just climbed out of her bedroom window under the cover of night for a secret romantic rendezvous with an older boy that her father absolutely does not approve of. And to be fair, at this point in her life, there's basically nothing about her that her father approves of. She is absolutely obsessed with the latest fashion, with hairstyles, with makeup, with expensive perfumes, and with all of the latest trashy romance novels. Yes, the trashy romance novels of 1531, they were a thing, and they were spicy. She dreams one day that one of the knights from one of her books that she's reading will one day whisk her off her feet to far away lands across this new and exciting Spanish empire, and that she will not have to live out her days in sleepy, boring little Ávila. But until Mr. Right shows up, Mr. Right now will have to do. And so she is sneaking out her window because she saw what settling down did to her mother. Marriage killed her. 10 kids, a husband who essentially owned her and controlled everything about her, and forced her to continue having children and raising those children and raising the children from his previous marriage. It crushed her spirit long before it crushed her body a few years earlier when she had passed away. No, Teresa's life would be different from her mother's. Teresa's life would be filled with adventure, would be filled with uniqueness. No, Teresa was brilliant. She could out-debate any boy in her neighborhood while pirouetting on her perfect heels at the same time. She was a 16-year-old socialite with stars in her eyes for which there were no limits to what she could achieve. And that is what scared her father so much. He already had 13 children. And so when he caught her sneaking out her window at night for this late night romantic rendezvous, He knew for a fact, finally, that without her mother around, he could not possibly hope to control her. And so he did what any good aristocratic Spanish father would do, and he shipped her off to boarding school to live in a Catholic nunnery surrounded by chaste, demure, boring nuns who could finally, hopefully, contain this teenage bombshell. Maybe they could shape her into something a little more compliant. Well, sorry, Dad. Teresa would never be compliant. She would never end up as the good little girl who keeps her head down and lets the big strong man tell her what to do. She will keep that independent spirit until the day she dies in her late 60s. She will also never lose that sense of humor, her charm, her wit, or her love of books. She will always love to travel, and she will always dream of wider fences and bigger meadows. But something will change inside of her. Slowly at first, and then all at once, like Mount St. Helens. Teresa will become one of the most influential Christians of the last 500 years. She will bring mystical spirituality into the mainline Catholic Church and will write one of the most widely read books about prayer and spiritual growth of all time. It's a book called The Interior Castle, and it is centered around a deceptively simple metaphor. Can we get her picture up here, by the way? This is one of my favorite depictions of her. You can sort of see this sort of like dreamy look in her eyes, can't you? This comes from a church in Kentucky, because when you're looking for portraits of Spanish mystics, why not go to Kentucky? So this book and the metaphor within it, the interior castle, many of us were taught that spiritual growth is a matter of climbing a ladder to heaven, about achieving something, about warring with yourself, destroying your body, your ego, your desires, all of that sort of stuff, conquering yourself so that you can transcend this weak and broken and gross body with all of its wants and needs and desires and all that stuff, so that you can get out of yourself and ascend to heaven, right? We even use words like this, transcendence, right? We use that word all the time. It is a matter of losing yourself so that you can find God somewhere else. But Teresa's vision is that the journey to God is a journey within. It is a journey towards wholeness and trueness and you-ness. She imagines the human soul. Now, however it is you need to imagine what a soul is, that's fine. For her, it means the essence of who you are. The most essential part of your nature, the you, that is you, that is you, that is you, that is your soul. And she imagines the soul within each of you like a castle with 7 chambers that concentrically go into the middle. Think like those Russian nesting dolls. And it's not made of stone. It's made of crystal or glass or diamond, something clear. But not perfectly clear, because at the center of this castle, in the innermost chamber, is God. The dwelling place of the living God is within your soul, and it shines brightly, this white, blinding, beautiful, brilliant light within each and every one of you. That in and of itself, by the way, totally radical. That the dwelling place of God is within you, within your soul. She writes that for God, heaven is you. Now, we think about heaven as a place that we get to, we achieve, where God is up on the clouds, away from us, with his sort of heavenly bureaucracy of all the different angels and saints and all of that. But to Teresa, God's heaven is your soul. There is no place that God would rather dwell than with God's beloved, which is you. So that light within shines brightly, and it illuminates all of the other chambers of your soul. But as it passes through each wall of the chamber, the light diminishes a little bit until you get to the outer walls where you can still see that there is light coming from within, but it is dim. And if you're not looking for it, you might miss it. There's a lot to distract you on the outer courts of this castle. But we're not there yet. We don't need to get to the blinding inner light just yet, because Teresa is still an angsty teenager who was just forced to give up her romance novels and go live with a bunch of dusty old ladies in a convent. She is not thrilled about it. But when she gets there to this Augustinian convent, she discovers something. She discovers, oh, these ladies are actually kind of fun. This is not the sort of dusty old convent that I was led to believe. Turns out these women are interesting. They're funny. They're themselves. Where she lived, out among polite society, there were certain expectations for how women were supposed to act in 16th century Spain among the sort of upper middle class. But away from all of that patriarchal control, the convents were places where women kind of just lived among women. They were free to explore art and reading and learning and writing and music and gardening and brewing and cooking and baking and all the things that inspired their hearts. In many ways, the convents were a place where women could be women. And she found there a sort of freedom and a fun. So as she approached graduation from her school, and she looked back out at her friends who had started to be married off, and she saw her family members who had been married off and who were being treated like childbearing cattle, she thought to herself, that is a fate worse than death for me. And she enrolled herself in the local Carmelite monastery as a nun, devoted herself to God, despite the fact she did not care all that much about God. She saw it as a way out of marriage and the sort of strict patriarchal, some man is going to tell you what to do, because Teresa knew that there was no man in all of Ávila who could match her for intelligence and wit, and she was going to have to deal with some, half-learned man telling her what to do, and that was never going to fly for her. And let me be clear, I've told you a few stories so far about people who devoted themselves to the church, who became monks and nuns and all of that, and do not think of Hildegard. Do not think of Aelred. Do not think of any of these people. The convent that she went to was fun. Okay? To a fault. She had a servant there who did her chores for her. Okay? She wasn't like beating herself with a board and chanting in Latin. She was embroidering fancy garments. She was talking fashion with the other nuns. They had the nuns' habits, but they were embroidered with gold. She had friends come and stay the night while she was there. She was reading, she was singing, she was hanging out, she was gossiping in the courtyards with the other ladies. She was literally living her best life as a 20-year-old nun, committed to God. And that's when malaria struck. And a combination of the malaria and the sort of folk remedies they tried on her left her paralyzed for 3 years. She could not move her legs. She couldn't walk for 3 years. And for the rest of her life, she would get random numbness in her hands and feet. And so she was laid up in bed in her uncle's estate for 3 years. And he gave her a book that changed her life. It was a book by a Spanish mystic. And it introduced a type of prayer that she had never heard of. Contemplative prayer. An inward prayer, a prayer of negation, a prayer in which you find God within you. And because she was forced to be in bed, she couldn't go out gallivanting and socializing and twirling around in her pretty dresses anymore. She was forced to be in silent meditation, and she found God in a way she'd never experienced before. This love, the kind of passion that she felt from the knights in her books, she was feeling from the divine, as sort of almost in a scandalous way. And she found herself growing and growing and growing and moving inward from that outer gate of the inner castle where, there's all filled with distractions and whatnot. As she moved through the second and the third chamber of her soul, she got closer and closer and closer to God. And it was through constant effort and work. She would be the one reading. She would be the one studying. She would be the one praying. She would be the one quieting her heart and delving deeply into it. But she kept finding God. She said it was kind of like discovering a well with inexhaustible water, and dipping your bucket into the well and then carrying it with you to your garden to water your garden. Her garden was growing and flourishing, her spiritual garden. Sorry to mix metaphors. It's her metaphors, not mine. But it took effort, right? You have to carry the bucket with you. She's doing inner work all the time. She's looking deeply at her own ego, her own sense of self. She's learning, she's reading, she's growing, she's putting in the effort, and she's seeing growth from it. A lot of us understand that phase of our spiritual growth, right? We get excited. We find a church. We find a theology. We find a practice. We find a belief system that finally resonates with our soul, and we dive into it 100%. We volunteer for everything. We join leadership positions. We read all the books. We do all the things. We get all poured into it, and it's all about the work because we keep finding water, and we keep finding resources, and we have the energy to do it. And a lot of times for us, that season will end with us realizing that the moment we take our foot off the gas, we don't feel God anymore. That all of that came from our work and our effort. It was carrying this heavy bucket of water with us over and over again. And so after 3 years, she could walk again. And so she moved back into the convent. And now that she can walk and she can move and she can do all that stuff, suddenly it became very hard for her to find the motivation to sit silently for 6 hours at a time like she was when she was laid up in bed. She wrote that she used to avoid silent prayer during this time of her life. She would volunteer to weed the garden, which she hated because she couldn't stand to sit in the chapel and pray anymore. A combination of not having the motivation anymore and not feeling God anymore. She would do the same things that she did, but she wasn't getting the same results anymore. And a certain creeping deadness started to take over her heart. And I think a lot of us can relate to that as well. A time when we found something amazing and when we poured ourselves into it, and maybe it lasted months or years or decades, but then some crisis hits and we reach out for that comfort and find that it doesn't work anymore. That container that used to pour so much life into us suddenly has nothing left in it. And we wonder if we were deceiving ourselves back then when that song or that community, that faith community, that way of believing, that way of living that gave us such life before suddenly is dry and empty. It doesn't matter how much work we put into it, it's not going to work anymore. This moment has many names. Teresa's protege, St. John of the Cross, would famously call it the dark night of the soul. Some people call it a crisis of faith. Many times we call this deconstruction today. But it's when you've worked so hard to force your way through those first couple chambers of the soul, and you hit not a door to the next chamber, but a wall. And you realize that no amount of your own force can push through that wall. For Teresa, this moment hit her like an arrow in the heart. She was walking down the corridor and she locked eyes with a statue of Jesus and was struck by how much guilt she was carrying around with her. about her own failures and her own ability to carry this any longer, to keep pretending like she was the holy saint that everybody thought she was. And that's the big insight of the fourth chamber of the interior castle. In the first three, you're doing all of the important self-work. You're working on your ego. You're creating healthy habits. You're seeking knowledge and truth. You're doing the chasing after God. But once you hit that wall, the only way into the fourth chamber is by dropping it all. By letting the burnout burn you out. By letting the edifice fall and standing naked and vulnerable before God and admitting that maybe you don't actually believe a lot of the stuff that you said you believed before. Teresa was 39 at this point, by the way. She'd been doing this work in convents for 25 years. And she finally allowed herself in that moment the freedom to just fall apart, to have a little breakdown, and to be okay with it. And just like a butterfly must be completely undone inside the chrysalis, she too was undone before becoming reborn on the other side. I think that many of us never get past this wall, and we never get deeper into the interior castle because we're afraid of falling apart. We spent so much time and effort and work in those first three chambers of the soul, doing this work to build up edifices, to create systems, to understand things, that if we admit that any of that is not helpful anymore, it feels like a failure. It feels like we've wasted time, that we were fooling ourselves, or that we are backsliding, or that we are breaking down, or that we are filled with evil, or we're letting bad thoughts get in, whatever it may be. We feel like admitting the truth is admitting failure. And it's not. It's not. It's metamorphosis. According to Teresa, anyway. Take it up with her if you don't agree. She has a beautiful image of a silkworm at this point that was in her chamber, and watching it transform into something else. Because in the further you get into the interior castle, in the fourth, the fifth, the sixth chambers of your soul, it's marked by a lightness, by an ease that you cannot experience without the work of the first three. And the necessary dying that comes from moving into the fourth. She said that in the internal chambers of the soul, your access to God is not like carrying a bucket full of water from a well to your garden, but it's like knowing where the spring is. Pulling up from the very earth itself, or being in a state where the rain is coming down on top of you. It is effortless and it is everywhere. You are no longer having to work to know the presence of God because it is always there and your awareness has opened up to it. There's a simplicity to the inner chambers of the soul, but it's a simplicity that only comes after complexity. It's an assurance that can only come after deconstruction. And we want to rush our way to simplicity. We want to rush our way to enlightenment, but you can't. You cannot force that. And once Teresa descended deeper into this castle and she knew the intimate, unitive love of God more truly, she couldn't just sit in her room anymore. She couldn't just sit and pray and enjoy it by herself. She had to go out and do something. Because that's the thing about this unitive, intimate connection with God. It pushes you outward. It sends you out to be just as busy as you were in the early stages when you were excited, except now the fuel source is different. It's not going by your own sense of excitement and motivation and your ability to control yourself. It's coming directly from the spirit of the creation itself. When you are fueled by the true love that binds the universe, you become a force of nature. Which is what happened to Teresa. Teresa went on to completely reform the entire Carmelite order. They ended up naming it the Discalced Carmelites, which means the nuns without shoes. She allowed them to wear sandals. You didn't have to be completely barefoot. But it was so clear from everyone that met her after this transformation that she was different, that there was a presence behind her eyes. When people met her and they were loved by her, they could tell they weren't being loved by her, but they were being loved through her. And it attracted people. People wanted to know more. They wanted to understand this mystery of how this person could be channeling such great and divine love. And so they surrounded her. She ended up founding something like 17 different monastic orders around Spain. In fact, they sent a group of men to her, because they were like, you need to teach these group of men how to reform their part of the Carmelite order. And that's where, if you ever heard of St. John of the Cross, and maybe we'll get to him someday, that was her protege. But as she was changed and she was transformed and she was filled with the Spirit of God, she didn't become a different person. And I feel like this is important. She was the same person that she always was. She did not become a hyper-serious, dour kind of saint where suddenly she was, speaking in monotone, and I'm very serious about the Lord all the time. She was exactly the person she always was. She was still funny. She was still sarcastic. She was still charming and charismatic. There was a time where she and some of her nuns were taking a trip that was official church business to go somewhere else. She was in her 60s at the time, and her donkey got spooked by something and knocked her off. And she fell off of the donkey into a muddy ditch, covered in mud head to toe. And she reached her hands up to the heaven and she said, "Oh Lord, if this is how you treat your friends, it's no wonder you have so few of them." I love the kind of person who would think to say something like that in front of this is the Mother Superior that you're following, not somebody who doesn't have a sense of humor. She was investigated by the Spanish Inquisition on multiple occasions. The local councils tried to shut down her order because they thought it was bringing a bad reputation to their town. Local bishops tried to shut her down, but every single time that somebody tried to come in and tell her not to do what she was doing, she found a way through her brilliance, through her charisma, through her charm, her humor, to disarm the attacks coming against her and brilliantly do some judo move and continue on. There are very few people who were investigated by the Spanish Inquisition and then just walked away unscathed by it, except for Teresa. It was almost like for her, upon reaching the inner chamber of the soul and being united with Christ, she was transformed not into a new Teresa, but a true Teresa. She found in God not a master, but a lover. And that's the gift of Teresa that I want to offer to you today. God is not angry. God is not disappointed with you. God does not demand that you overnight become disciplined and serious if that's not who you already are. God is lovingly calling to you from within your very self to discover your own inherent belovedness. And just like you cannot be in a relationship with a human lover without radical vulnerability, so too God asks only for that, for your intention and your vulnerability. So I wonder in what ways you can offer yourself grace this week. What anxiety or nagging self-doubt can you intentionally try to quiet? What part of your faith do you maybe need to admit doesn't work and lay down at the foot of that wall? I wonder what part of her story or metaphor might be resonating with you today.
I posted something on Facebook along these lines, that if you have any doubts that there is a heaven, let me assure you that the people that you have been a blessing to, you are a heaven. And of course that heaven comes from with your inner self, as St. Teresa has pronounced and emphasized, right from the core of your being, where God is.
If heaven means presence with God, then heaven can be within you. And you can be a heaven for another person who needs to know and feel the presence of God. Yeah. Caitlin.
So you're saying it's a glass castle, right? With all the layers of glass. And I had this image of how when glass is fogged over with condensation and you can't see through it, but all it takes is just warm that glass for a couple seconds and just like it's completely clear, like suddenly and easily and effortlessly. And I was thinking that the vision I was having was that if you say something kind to yourself, or you're giving yourself like permission to exist exactly as you are, it like just warms the glass and just clears up so much of it so that God is shining out.
Yeah, it's almost like it's an illusion of separation, that it doesn't take much to clear that away, to see through. I looked for a long time, by the way, for an illustration of the interior castle that I could put up here to show you. Could not find a single one. Every single painting, every single book cover, every drawing shows an actual castle made of stone with different, like, chambers of stone. It seems like we have such a hard time with that metaphor because maybe it seems too easy. That, no, it should be a strong castle. It shouldn't be a clear glass dwelling place where God's light shines through. So I don't have a visual to show you because seemingly no one wants to draw it. But I would love to, if you would. Yeah, it's translucent. Yeah, and I would recommend all of you pick up a copy. Mirabai Star's translation of it is very accessible. Each one of these chambers along the way is so very detailed about what it's like to be there, how to move through it, what to look out for. She's incredibly wise. She was made a doctor of the church, which is an exclusive thing that only 100 saints have ever been offered by the church, which is like a way of saying that you have added something incredibly important to the history of our collective experience of God together. She's a doctor of prayer. She was also the first woman to be made a doctor of the church. And I thought of her, we talked a little about her on Wednesday, and we were talking about prayer and how it can be difficult sometimes to know what you're doing in prayer. Because I want something. I'm going to tell God what I want. God already knows what I want. Why would I have to say anything? Doesn't God already know it? She told her sisters that prayer is a conversation among lovers. And should it be no surprise that a lover wants to love their beloved more and will listen to what the beloved is saying, even if they already know what they're about to say. It almost doesn't matter the words that they say. They can feel the heart behind it. And that's what prayer is. Prayer is a conversation between a lover and a beloved. It's not a petition to a government official for, to fill a pothole. It's an intimate nighttime conversation between lovers. That's how she imagines. When you read her, you can tell that it's somebody who grew up reading romance novels, the way that she embodies this relationship with God.
When you're being vulnerable and when you're acting from within that vulnerability. I'm sorry, I'm still making pictures in my head. Words aren't coming nearly as fast. It's that feeling that within this relationship, you can be vulnerable, and therefore you can also act towards the other person when they're vulnerable. And I think that is like at the core, that you're willing to just kind of be open. And I think the reason that she's looking inwards is because she's recognized that it's only in that place that, because if you're looking outwards, you're not being vulnerable. You're not allowing yourself to be. You're too scared to. You're keeping a fortress in place around you. And you move inwards, and you move to that center where you're just willing to kind of lay it all out and be just who you are. Then I think that's where we have to start from.
Fortress. You just used the word fortress.
Yeah.
And it strikes me that might be why all of these artists are using, they're not painting the interior castle, they're painting a fortress. They're painting.
I'm sitting here with pictures in my head, and all I'm seeing is a defensible fortress.
Right.
And that's what our lives are overwhelmingly that. They're the constructs that we have around us to help us stay safe, and that's not where we should be going.
Right.
We should be going the opposite direction, tearing down the walls, and just standing there exposed,
Right.
which is terrible.
Right. No, we build fortresses in our souls. We're afraid of others. We're afraid of damnation. We're afraid of being seen for being weak. We're afraid of all kinds of things. Maybe afraid of evil. Teresa was once asked if she was afraid of demons. And she had this sort of theology of spirits all around her all the time. She used to say that when she'd be in prayer and she'd sense an evil spirit, she would take a little bit of holy water and just flick it. She said she was more distracted by the flea infestation than she was by the evil spirits that would try to bother her. She said, I am not afraid of evil, but I am afraid of those who are. And I thought, I'm going to need to sit with that one for a little while. Like, she knows that evil has no control over her. She doesn't need to be guarded and defensive, and she doesn't need to worry about the state of her soul. Her beloved is within her, beckoning her to come closer, does not care at all about her stumbles and her foibles and all of that. But the people who are so afraid of failure, who are so afraid of evil, who are so afraid of the other, those people, in her case, the Spanish Inquisition, could really cause her harm. But it's the people who don't care about fear, who are so sure of God's love. Yeah, that's where we should be.
This, like my own personal castle. And I'm like, my first thought was, one of these layers has to be stone. Because it was really hard for me to get through, you know. This is what I'm thinking, like breaking through all of my chambers. I don't think I broke through all of them, you know what I mean? And then what I realized is, obviously that wouldn't make any sense, because even if one layer was stone, you wouldn't be able to see God's love shining through. So what I realized in that thought was, I like took a step back really quick, and I'm like, actually, I just didn't know the way to the castle yet. Like, it's not that the wall was stone, so I couldn't break through it. It was just I was on the wrong road trying to get there. You know, once I found the directions later, I realized it was glass. But I think it's interesting to think about the trick to the castle before you even think.
Within each chamber, there are temptations. There are what she calls poisonous lizards that and insects and evil spirits and those who would do you ill. That each one has its own different flavor of characters within each one that are trying to prevent you from moving through the chamber to the next. Each one also trying to convince you that you've already reached the center. That's one of the most pernicious tricks of the third chamber, is believing then that you've worked your way to enlightenment, that there's nowhere else to go, because you've already done all of the work. You're already there. You can see the light. You can experience God. You can do it all yourself. You've pushed through. You've earned this place. And the big insight for her is that the only way to get further into when this unitive lover relationship where everything becomes effortless is to die to that, to your own efforts, to your own, I worked so hard to get here. I pushed through this by my own effort. It's a becoming undone and allowing yourself to be loved into the next chambers. And then 4 through 7, it's not a matter of working your way through them. It's a matter of allowing yourself to sink deeper into it. There's almost a passive allowing God to move you as you get further along in that chamber. It's a beautiful metaphor. It's very complex. This is like a 12-week series of going through each one, so we won't. Again, you should all read this book or listen to the audiobook.
To be vulnerable in that way when you've been taught to be afraid of God. And then, like, that's the fear. And that's something about that truest version of yourself is somehow not okay with God or for God.
I've been kind of having like a parallel dimensionality of us, and I was thinking about, like how each dimension is a projection of the previous one. So like you project onto the first dimension and then you see it 2D and you project two-dimensional into the third and you project three-dimensional and then we're, experiencing time and then like, I don't know, I was thinking about how we are not like our thoughts or our actions because those are things that happen within singular moments of time. But then like I was trying to write this down. So we're not our thoughts, we're not our actions. Those are moments fixed in time in which they occur. So are we grander, like fifth dimensional beings, a projection of time into something unknowable and inconceivably vast, a soul space where our essences are drawn together or pushed away like magnets, but unlike a magnetic field, it can't be quantified by our conceived third dimensional space? Or is our soul one-dimensional, or just smaller than, but like not diminished as our language of lesser dimensions would suggest, but something that can be projected onto our reality throughout time as like a source of our experiences. Because I don't know, I don't like the word pure, but it almost, and I don't even know if those thoughts even matter, it's just like we exist. But like, is there some singular point of us that exists that is like the source of things, or is there just like some grand, vast, inconceivable space that is accessed through this glass castle? I don't know.
I think, right? If you're grappling with the same human spiritual experience and trying to come up with metaphors to explain the ineffable, you're using 21st century modern physics as a metaphor in the same way that she's using 16th century castle architecture in a way. Oh,
Just so everyone knows.
that's so beautiful. I love. She would have loved to read that, I'm sure. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing, and I want to read all of your thoughts on higher dimensionality and projected experiences and dimensions, because I've thought a lot about that too. We should get together and talk about that sometime. But well, friends, I want to leave you with a word of encouragement from Teresa. She is reflecting towards the end of her life, trying to encourage the women under her care, who all of her books are for, by the way. She did not intend for any of you to read her books. They were written 100% for the women in her convents under her watch. In fact, in one part, I read this to people on Wednesday, she says, I hope that made sense. My head hurts too much to reread it. I think I may have gone out of order, but no one but my sisters will read this. And I love reading that 500 years later. Not as a Carmelite sister in Spain. But she's reflecting on all of those who have challenged her expansive view of God, her expansive view of what God wants for you and how God wants to love you. And having just talked about dealing with the Inquisition and the priests that were sent to question her orthodoxy. She said, I have had a great deal of experience with some half-educated, timid men and dour saints whose shortcomings have cost me dearly. Mansplainers, in modern parlance. Anyone who believes that God can't do more than we understand and who thinks that he does not give his creatures spiritual favor has closed the doors to receiving those favors. Sisters, do not let this be true of you. Believe that God can do this and so much more. So, friends, my prayer for you is that you would not be limited by your own beliefs and by what you think is possible and by what I believe and what I think is possible for you. May none of us be limited in how much we can conceptualize God's love. And may you receive divine favors to the extent that I can't explain to you. May you know the deep and intimate love of God as Teresa did, and may it inspire you and transform you to be your truest self, because that is what the world needs. People who are alive and true, exactly as God made them to be. Would you pray with me today? Oh God, our Creator, our Mother, our Father, our Brother, our Lover, our everything, you who dwell in the depths of our very being and call us deeper into ourselves, we call to you not crying into the heavens or into the unknown spaces, but into our very souls where you dwell. May we feel your comfort today. May we know your presence. May we feel your healing touch. May we be free to be vulnerable, to let down our guard, to drop all of the fears that we have that are holding us back from being who we are. Lord, may we be whole, and may we bring that wholeness to others. We pray for all of our sisters and brothers and siblings who are not with us today, those who are sick, those who are traveling, those who are on vacation, those who may be sleeping. Make them well. Give them a peace that passes all understanding today and heal their bodies, hearts, and minds. We pray specifically today for my father-in-law, Mike. As the doctors try to figure out what is happening to him, heal his body and his heart and ease his mind and anxiety. And for my boys who are out there without their parents, give them comfort and peace in that little family that's holding together out there. And we take a moment to call out any prayers that we have as a community that we can lift them up together.
Dear Lord, grant us the wherewithal to find you within the depths of our being and to share you with others, to be a blessing to them.
Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayers.
Lindy, whose husband has developed some very serious health issues, and they are both struggling very much.
Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayers. in your mercy, hear our prayers.
In Memphis, Tennessee, and the mandatory to stand up for this festival.
Yes. Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayers. For all that we lift up, for all that we've spoken, for all that we have left unspoken, that for which we have no words to speak, we lift this and our very lives up to you. Amen. Teresa wrote a lot of words. She thought a lot of thoughts. She made a lot of logical connections, and I understand that as a person of words and logic and structures. But she also understood the value of this meal because it doesn't require words. This and the other sacraments of the church are ways that we work out with our bodies what we want to believe in our heart and soul. We take this bread, we take this fruit of the vine, and we believe that in some way, shape, or form, the divine blessing of Christ comes into us, becomes us. They didn't know about digestion and molecular transfers and all of that in those days. But for me, that's a helpful metaphor, that we'll take a small piece of bread and a small bit of juice, and we'll take that, and they'll become me, and I'll become them, and there'll be this mystical intertwining. And I will work out with my own body what I want to be true in my soul. And so I pray for you all that these elements and in the taking of them would become the grace and mercy of Christ, that you would know the unitive oneness of God, of the God who desired so much to be with us that became one of us, and that you would go feeling the refreshment that comes from that grace. I would invite those of you who are willing to come forward and receive this meal today.
King of every truth, and only those that I believe, Alpha and Omega, and every letter in between, space between the stars, cannot contain your glory. Break the cages we try to place you in. You are more. You are more. So much greater than these words we draped you with. You are more. You are more than this. You are more. You have always been.
Christ, broken for you, take and drink. Blessing poured out for you, for me, for all, take and drink. Lord, make us whole, draw us in, bless us with your grace. Friends, go out today and let no one tell you what is impossible. Let no one make you feel that God is angry with you or that you need to fear your mind. May you know that God is as close as your next breath and as intimate as your next heartbeat. As Teresa said, yours are the eyes with which God looks out on the world. Yours are the hands with which God embraces the world. Yours